What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I got my predictions for week 12. Yes, week 12. I can't believe I'm saying that. Of college football. A very good week. Most people wouldn't say so. This week is usually referred to as the cupcake week, but there's still really good games on, and I'm still going to enjoy college football if it's on. So, yes, another week of college football on. That I'll cover. Thank you for clicking on this video. If you love college football, you'll love my channel. I cover college football daily. Let's get into it. Let's see how I've done. Overall, last week was my best week so far predicting. I've started looking into more stats. I've started getting my predictions better, and last week was the best week. Overall, I went 9-1. The only game I predicted wrong was Wake Forest, and they only lost by 2 points. And versus the spread, I went 7-3. My best also versus the spread this season. So just last week was my best week so far. And that brings my total season predictions up to 77-28 for a 73% correct percentage. And versus the spread, I am 46-59 for a 44% correct percentage. But I'm pretty confident in my picks, and I think I can get a little hot streak going. Last week was good. I think this week's going to be good. I think I got a little hot streak going. Hopefully I can raise those numbers up. But let's get into it. I'm going to start off with the top 5 teams like I always do. First, I have number 5, Tennessee at South Carolina. Tennessee is a 22-point favorite over South Carolina, and I can see why. Tennessee has a great offense. Many would say the best offense in the country. And I think everyone can agree they're at least top 2. And they've got a pretty decent defense. And they are 9-1 with their only loss coming to Georgia. South Carolina, not nearly as good, to be fair. But they are 6-4. They were ranked in the top 25 a couple weeks ago. But they got they're pretty mediocre on both sides of the ball. And that's really how to describe this team, is just mediocre. And that's no diss to South Carolina, not really. I mean, they do play SEC ball. But yeah, I'm going to take Tennessee in this one. They have an 89% win probability. And I'm going to take Tennessee because of that amazing passing game. And they got a pretty good running game, and South Carolina's rush defense is terrible. I think Jabari Small has a big day, and Tennessee wins 45-17. Tennessee wins by 28. Tennessee wins, and they cover the spread. Next game, I got number 4 TCU at Baylor. Very interesting matchup. A lot of people think this one's going to be very close. TCU is only a 2.5-point favorite. Only 2.5. And they only have a 51% win probability, according to ESPN. But let's look at both teams. TCU, obviously undefeated. They have an amazing offense this year, top 15. Good on both facets of offense. A good rushing offense. Plus a great passing offense led by Max Duggan and Quentin Johnson. But don't overlook their defense, too. I go as far to say their defense is top 20 in the nation. Especially their rushing defense. But Baylor isn't no slouch either. They are 6-4 this year. I believe it was Baylor who won the Big 12 last year. 6-4. They've been a disappointment of some kind, but don't overlook them. I think they also have a great offense. I would go as far to say they're top 25, top 30. And then their defense is pretty decent. Pretty decent. So do not overlook Baylor. But, and here comes the but. As much as I respect Baylor, I just think TCU is too good. Now, I think this could be a little closer because it's at Baylor and TCU's coming off a big emotional game versus Texas. But I mean, man, with what TCU's done, I can't keep doubting them. And I'm fully on the TCU Horned Frog train now. I got TCU winning pretty comfortably. I got TCU winning 38-24 at Baylor. TCU wins by 14. TCU wins and covers. The next game I got is Illinois at Michigan. And oh boy, if you like defensive football, this is the game for you. Michigan, an 18-point favorite. Let's look at both teams. Illinois, 7-3. They obviously were undefeated just a couple weeks ago, it seems like. Or not undefeated, my bad. They were in playoff contention, only had one loss. And then these past few weeks, they have absolutely just not looking great. They have just plummeted. But I still respect Illinois. They do have a mediocre, I would say, offense. I wouldn't say their passing offense is elite. But they have a pretty good rush offense with Chase Brown. But they have an amazing defense. A top 10 defense. Top 10 against the top 5 against the pass. And top 10 against the rush. And it's really the same story for Michigan. They are also a top 10 defense. Top 5 against the pass. And, in my opinion, the best rush defense in the entire nation. These things that separates Illinois and Michigan so much is that Michigan, unlike Illinois, has an amazing offense. Illinois, mediocre. Michigan, amazing offense, especially their rushing offense, which is top 5, led by Heisman contender Blake Corum and really underrated player Donovan Edwards. Maybe the best backfield in college football. And that's really what separates them. And Illinois' biggest strength on offense is their rushing game with Chase Brown. But I think Michigan, because Illinois is so one-dimensional, I think Michigan with that number 1 rush defense will be able to shut down Illinois. And it'll be a very defensive game. Give me 24-10. Michigan wins. But I do not think they cover. I think Illinois shows up enough to cover. Michigan wins, but they do not cover. 24-10. Let's look at number 2, Ohio State. Number 2, Ohio State goes and plays at Maryland. Excuse me. Ohio State, a 27.5-point favorite, and I can understand why to an extent. Maryland is coming off a terrible loss to Penn State. They lost 30-0. Really surprised me. A big win for Penn State and a terrible loss for Maryland. But let's look at the teams. Ohio State, undefeated, obviously. I mean, do I really have to tell you guys about Ohio State? Ohio State, undefeated. To me, the best offense in the country, led by C.J. Stroud, Travion Henderson, Marvin Harrison, and just a plethora of playmakers. But do not overlook that Buckeye defense, as they are borderline top 5, especially that great passing defense that they have. In Maryland, I had higher expectations, not going to lie. They have a pretty good offense, honestly, led by Talia, the brother of Tua. And they have a decent or mediocre defense. But mediocre defense versus the best offense in the country, I mean, you know which way I'm going to go. But I do like Maryland. I do like Talia. I like some of Maryland's playmakers. And I like Mike Locksley. So I think Ohio State wins. I think they win pretty big. But I do like Maryland to put up points. And I think they'll play much better than last week. Give me Ohio State winning 49-28. Ohio State wins by 21. The Buckeyes win, but they do not cover. In the last game involving top 5 teams, number 1 Georgia at Kentucky. Georgia is a 22.5-point favorite. And honestly, that's a little low in my opinion. And I don't understand why, but I'll get to it. To me, I mean, do I really have to recap? Georgia, again, another team I don't have to talk about. Top 5 offense. Best defense in the country. Amazing on both sides of the ball. And not only are they amazing on both sides of the ball, they're not too shabby on both facets of both sides of the ball, if that makes sense. Amazing pass offense, amazing rush offense, amazing rush defense, amazing pass defense. Georgia, the defending champs, number 1 all season to me in my polls. And yeah, I got to stop singing Georgia's praises. I hate Georgia. I can't do this much longer. But I got to give them the credit they deserve. And Kentucky, man, I think they've been overrated all season. They have a mediocre offense led by Will Levis, who is maybe the most overrated quarterback in the entire country. They can't really run the ball as well as they need to. But to their point, they do have a pretty good defense. I'd say a top 20 defense, especially a really good pass defense. But that's not enough to stop the Bulldogs. Give me 38-10. I'll give Georgia. I'll buff Georgia a little bit. If this game was at Athens, it'd be more like 45-7 or 49-7. But since it's at Kentucky, I'll go 38-10. Georgia wins by 28, and they cover. And another thing I want to say about this game is I'm really looking for Will Levis. Will Levis, super overrated. A lot of people have him going top 5 in the draft. That's crazy to me. But if he wants to prove that he's really a top 5 pick, he has to play great. He has to play great in this game. But I don't see that for happening. Georgia wins by 28, and they cover. Excuse me, guys. Our next game, UAB at number 6, LSU. LSU obviously ranked number 6. Got some big wins, to say the least, over Alabama. Now, they did struggle with Arkansas last week, but let's not overlook what LSU have done. Top 20 on both sides of the ball. And honestly, a top 10 defense. LSU's played great this year. But UAB is not too shabby either. UAB, decent on both sides of the ball. Especially their rushing offense. UAB is a very good rushing team. And I really like UAB, me being from the state of Alabama, my dad growing up in Birmingham. I really do like UAB, but I just can't take them. Obviously, I'm not going to take them to win, in my opinion. The spread is only 14 in favor of LSU, which is really low, in my opinion. And I really wanted to take UAB to not let LSU cover, but I think LSU does cover. Give me LSU 38-17. LSU wins by 21, and they cover. Let's look at our next game. Number 14, Ole Miss at Arkansas. A game earlier to begin the season I thought would be much more hype, but Arkansas has been a massive disappointment to me. I thought Arkansas was going to have the year Tennessee's having, honestly. I really thought. But it just hasn't happened. Ole Miss has played great, though. Their only losses coming to both top 10 teams, Alabama and LSU. And they have an amazing offense that's borderline top 10. The best rushing attack in the entire country, in my opinion, especially with freshman Quinshon Judkins. And they got a pretty decent defense also. In Arkansas, I just don't know if Arkansas can match up with them. Arkansas has a good offense. I'll give them that. Especially a good rushing offense when KJ Jefferson is healthy and Rocket Sanders, one of the best running backs in the country. But their defense is so bad, especially their passing defense, just one of the worst in the country. And when you take Ole Miss, the best rushing team in the country, plus Arkansas so bad at defending the pass, I think Jackson Dart and Quinshon Judkins have a day. Ole Miss scores a lot, and I think 2.5 is extremely generous. I think Ole Miss covers by a lot. Give me Ole Miss 45-24. The Rebels win by 21, and they cover. And let's look at our next game before we get into our ranked matchups and the Alabama game. And it's a big one. It's Bedlam. One of the best rivalries in college football. Not being played on Rivalry Week this year. I don't remember if that's usually how they do it. Honestly, I can't remember. But still a rivalry game, and yeah, both these teams may not be performing, especially how they did last year, or especially up to historical expectations, but they're two solid teams nonetheless. Oklahoma State 7-3. I was really high on them earlier in the season. They were top 10 in some of my polls earlier in the season, but they have just absolutely fell, especially that big loss to Kansas State really hurt them. That was just an insane loss. But I still think they're pretty decent on both sides of the ball. I still think they got a great passing attack. I still think they're really good, especially led by veteran Spencer Sanders. Oklahoma, 5-5. They have a really disappointing year. To me, especially, I think Brent Venables, I think give him some time. He's not having a good year. Give him another year. But the thing is, Brent Venables is on a very short leash because Oklahoma is so prestigious and because guys like Josh Heupel, Tennessee's head coach, who's having such an amazing year, is literally an Oklahoma graduate, literally played college ball at Oklahoma and was a runner-up for the Heisman Trophy. So I think Brent Venables is on a very short leash, and this game will really help his job security. I don't think he gets fired year one, obviously, even if he loses this game. But he's on a very short leash, and this game, if he wins, would help his job security a lot. OU, pretty good offense, especially their rushing offense. And their defense is mediocre. A decent pass defense, but their rushing defense is just so bad. It's a tough one. It's bedlam. It's going to be high scoring. But I'm going to take the Sooners. I'm going to take the Oklahoma Sooners. They're favored by 7.5, and I'm going to take them 45-35. I think Oklahoma covers just by a little bit. Give me the Sooners winning by 10. Oklahoma wins, and they cover. And right before I get into my two ranked versus ranked matchups, including the game of the week, let me predict the Alabama game real quick. I won't say much on this. Austin Peay at Alabama. Guys, do I really have to? I'm not even going to talk. I'm not even going to talk about this. Go into detail on both teams. Alabama's Alabama, and Austin Peay. I have a lot of respect for Austin Peay, even though they're an FCS team. They're doing very good in the FCS. I'll give them credit. But they're in the FCS for a reason. They are not Alabama. And while I do respect Austin Peay, I respect their coach a lot. I just think Alabama gets it done. Nick Saban, I feel like, especially after last week, that moment in the huddle is going to be a very big moment. I think Alabama comes. There's been a lot of talk about the Alabama standard not being what it used to. I think Alabama plays pissed off versus Austin Peay, even though they are an FCS opponent. It's 11 a.m. A lot of college athletes wouldn't want to get up for this game, but I think Nick Saban motivates these guys and gets them pissed off and plays very well against Austin Peay. Give me my Alabama Crimson Tide. Roll, Tide, roll. Roll, Tide, roll. Give me my Alabama Crimson Tide, 49-0. And by the way, I looked for a spread on this game. I could not find a spread anywhere. I checked all the odds books. I checked Vegas. I checked everything. They didn't even bother putting a spread on this one, and I can't blame them. If you can find a spread, let me know, but I couldn't find one, and I don't blame them. But Alabama wins 49-0. And let's get into the two ranked versus ranked matchups. Both Pac-12 games. The first one we got is number 10 Utah at 12 Oregon. A game I went back and forth on. Utah's favored by 2, and ESPN gives them a slight better chance winning probability to win the game. Utah and Oregon, both great offenses. Oregon's offense, even better though. But they both excel at different things. Utah's good at the pass, but they're a great rushing team. Oregon's good at the run, but they're a great passing team, in my opinion. But yes, Oregon led by Bo Nix, who was playing great. Oregon did get upset last week. Something I did predict. I'm very proud of that prediction. In fact, I want to take a little bit moment to gloat. The two biggest games of the week last week, Washington versus Oregon and TCU versus Texas, both predicted on the dot. Not the scores, but the spread. I predicted Washington by 3 in an upset, and I predicted TCU by 7 in an upset, and both of those things happened. So I'm very happy about that. But, yes, Utah at Oregon. Utah has a much better defense, in my opinion. And thing that really just made this game hard to pick is Oregon's pass defense is bad. It's the worst in the country, and I'm not being hyperbolic. Oregon's pass defense is so bad. And Utah's favored. Utah has a higher chance to win. Oregon's defense is bad. But I don't know, man. Oregon, coming off that loss. I think they play better, even though I do not like Bo Nix. I think he plays better. And it's at Oregon, at Eugene. I don't think Oregon can lose twice in a row at Eugene. Give me the Ducks in an extremely close game. Give me Oregon 42-35. Oregon wins by 7 in an upset. And now let's look at our game of the week. Thank you if you're still watching. Game of the week, USC at UCLA. Another rivalry game. This time, the battle between the California schools. The Rose Bowl Arena Stadium is sold out this week, which is something you don't hear often. But yes, number 7 USC at number 16 UCLA. UCLA coming off a bad loss to Arizona. But I think Chip Kelly, I like Chip Kelly. He's finally turned the corner at UCLA, especially this year. They had him in the top 10 and in playoff contention for such a long time. That ended last week with Arizona. But I think Chip Kelly gets these boys playing better again. And this one, if you're just want to watch a fun game this week, watch this one. Not only is it a rivalry, a heated rivalry, but these offenses, man, both top 10 offenses. USC, and they're completely different in how they approach, which I think will make it really interesting. USC, they have a pretty decent rushing offense, but they have an amazing pass offense led by the amazing Caleb Williams. UCLA, completely opposite. They have a pretty good, decent passing offense led by DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, but they have an amazing rush offense. And their defenses are about the same, both pretty mediocre. I think this game has a lot of points, but USC seems like they're on a mission. Lincoln Riley is a genius. He's a great coach. He's done great things in only his first year at USC. Give me USC. They're favored by 2.5. 48-41. USC wins by 6 in a rivalry game and keeps the Pac-12's playoff hopes alive. But that was my predictions for Week 12 of college football. And man, I don't want to get you too excited, but next week's going to be so good. Rivalry week. The best week of college football. The best week of sports in general. I'm so excited. I'm going to have so much content next week. Be prepared. But yes, those are my predictions. Leave your thoughts on it in the comments below. And thank you for watching. Peace out.